All right, we're going to replace the carburetor on SR76. I'll go through all the steps and record them. And I know most of the guys who watch this already know how to do a carb, but I have a lot of younger viewers that pop in, and maybe people new to Corvettes and think, well, I shouldn't touch my Corvette, but you can. And this is going to be an episode where we replace the carb and dial it in. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is unhook your battery. And I've already done that. The battery's behind the driver's seat. That's already done. Whenever you're working with gas, you need to reduce the chances of any electrical issues. Even the smallest ones can cause a huge amount of damage. If you can see here, this is the power. I tested out the power earlier, and I went ahead and marked it with just a zip tie, and that's going to go power to the automatic choke. So we're going to start taking it apart. Once I get this out of the way, you'll be able to see a little bit more, but I'll angle you at a better angle. But we just have to disconnect the gas. You'll need a screwdriver, straight screwdriver, or a socket wrench to remove the hose clamps. I'm going to replace the filter as well. An old t-shirt, because you are going to get gas all over. So best thing to do is I got a couple bolts that I will stick in the hoses here, or at least angle them up and tape them to one part of the engine here to keep them from tipping over and just leaking gas everywhere. So I'm going to get started. Disconnect the attempt to do some smog control here. Let's see if I can get it a little bit. That's right here, and it just pops out of there. Does is recycles the vapors from the valves and puts it back in there to burn again. Okay, once that's done, right, so gas line disconnected. Didn't get any gas leaking out because the cars have been running for a while. I stuck a bolt in there and tightened it down, and also gonna prop it up somewhere up here on the engine so it's out of my way. Further. There we go. So now we've got to take off this brass fitting. It also comes with a bracket. Now I can't tell if it's original bracket or not because there's a bolt here, and then this one does not reach all the way over onto the carb. All right, so we're moving this. This is actually not 1/2 inch. And so I got a 16 millimeter. And so this goes to power brakes. And it's also on a you can see the bracket here. and that's bolted here and not there. So I'm going to get a socket and remove that. I'll need an extension for that. Still need an extension. Now this is also one of the bolts that holds on the carburetor, so I have one of these little cool magnetic things I got. Oh, in petrol boxes. Holds a socket, and I'll also use it to hold my bolts so I don't lose them. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do with the old carb. I may just send it out and have it redone. But I just have this thing where I like putting brand new carbs on the cars I have. And this one needs to be rebuilt. 4-barrel. This is the Edelbrock. What was it, 4006? I forget. 1406. So 4 bolts is all that holds it on. I've got to disconnect this linkage. I don't know if you can see the linkage. Yeah. Disconnect this linkage. That's just on with the bolt as well. Hopefully 1/2 inch. Well, there you go. Brackets off. This is 1/2 inch. Actually, we don't have to do it. We're just going to take the clip off. It has a clip on it. Screwdriver will pop it right off. It's been a long time since I worked on a GM. There we go. That's a little clip. And it comes right off, along with the bracket that's holding and the return spring. I should get a new one. I think it came with one, but if not, I'll have to run and get one. Clip goes in the little magnetic thing up there. And other than the vacuum on the front, all right, so I'm jumping in here. I don't know what the other camera did, but it kept dying, so I'll recap. Carb came off already, 4 bolts, that's all. Bracket here to hold on the power brake vacuum line. 1 vacuum line on the front of the carb, and the 4 bolts, and that's all. And then I disconnected the throttle with you see the little bracket down here, little retainer ring. The gasket's good, so I'm not going to mess with the gasket. And then I'll check and see what's coming on with the other one. But right now we're going to grab the other carb, but let's take a look at the old one first. It's the old carb. They're the same. This is the 1406, and it's dirty. It needs to be cleaned. I tried cleaning it, but it's also got a little bit of varnish in there from sitting so much. The previous owner didn't use it a whole lot. Automatic choke didn't work at all. Didn't have power to it. So at the beginning of the last segment, I showed you where I actually tested all these wires. I mean, there's wires everywhere because it had AC and the AC is disconnected. So what I did is I found one that was powered, and I just flagged it with a zip tie, and that's going to actually go in and power. I might replace that end. I might actually go in and that'll bring the power to the automatic choke. All right, so I'm going to try to set this back up, and hopefully this thing will keep recording. We'll see. All right, I'm going to run through this again here, because I'm having technical difficulties. Carburetor's removed. Hopefully that came out on the last camera that was having issues. We've got the bracket that holds the throttle cable and the vacuum that goes to the power, or to the power brakes. Vacuum hose that goes to the front, and that's for the distributor. The gasket is still good. I'm probably not going to replace that, although as easy as that. The old gasket's still good. We'll get this bolted in here. Bolts line up. Now, I would like these to come with their own new bolts, but they don't. But that's okay. This one started. And again, for some reason, this bracket doesn't go all the way over like it should. All right. Didn't drop the bolt. Just shot the return spring. All right. So I guess I don't really like the way this bracket's on here. I think I'm going to take that off because it makes it a little unwieldy to get it back on. Let me see what I can do here. We're going to take this bracket off real quick. It's not helping any. I just realized that this car is 10 years, just 10 years younger than the original Chevy I had. It was 1976 when I graduated high school. My dad restored a 1966 Chevy Impala. He gave it to me as a gift for graduation. I think much to my mother's displeasure, but it happened anyway. All right, now let's see if we can get this set up like we want it. Okay, so that bolt goes in. This bolt has to go in way over here. There we go. So I'll bolt that back on in a bit. Get this tightened down and then we'll work on the linkage real quick. And you don't want to torque it too much. It's enough to keep that gap, and then of course if it leaks, we'll torque it a little bit more. Right now I'm just getting a good tighten on it. Yeah, that gasket down there is still really good and pliable. See how it crushes down on there. It looks like there might have been a small leak there at one point. One just doesn't want to get a socket on it. So we'll do it the harder way. Maybe. Carb hangs over just a little bit more than the other one did. So we'll do it this way. before I do that. Alright, so still having an issue with being able to get to that nut like I should. And of course, like every average guy, I lost a socket, a 1/2 inch that would fit, or 9/16 that would fit, 1/2 inch that would fit. So, but also, I forgot I needed this. I needed this for the power brakes connection for the vacuum. So I've got this kind of in there. It's kind of stuck in the way here. I'm going to go ahead and try to loosen that bolt again, which shouldn't be that difficult. At all. And these little wrenches come in handy sometimes. You can see how the end's got a nub on it, and that works just perfectly. Alright, so now we're going to do this a better way. So I got this off the old Carb. It's a fitting that you need for the idle block. So brackets off. No, I'm not going to put any thread stuff on it because it wasn't leaking before, so I'm not going to mess with it. I guess they are exactly the same. And again, when you're putting a carburetor on, you need the simple tools. You don't need the fancy stuff. And again, you want to tighten this down because you do want a good seal here to avoid any leak. This tight as can be. Perfect. All right, now we got to deal with this bracket, which I'm beginning to dislike a lot. And I may have to take a look and find the original bracket for this. I don't really like it just hanging there. Maybe it was something different altogether, but I'll grab up a... And I'm still going to have the same problem with this, because I'm not going to be able to get that on there like I want. So, that's my slightly modified wrench, which lets me get underneath here fairly well. And crank that tight. And then sometime I'll go find my actual smaller 1/2 inch socket. And when you're doing work on 3 different cars of your own, it could be in any one of them. All right, these are all tight as they're going to get. Double check them all. Do an extra turn on each one. That one needs a little few more. I forgot to do that one all together. All right, got those tight. And here's the for the front, the distributor. That one's set up. This back one should be. Perfect. And now I've got to go scavenge the parts for this piece here. So we're over here. That put back on. That's back on there. And I've got the clip. And that just slides on. It's like an enhanced C-clip. I showed it to you in the other video. I hope if that came out, if it didn't come out, trust me, it works really good. Okay, it's clipped on there. So now all I got to do, give it back to the gas back to it, change out the filter. We'll be good to go. And I got to stop up the. Got to step up these puppies here. And I'll have to go get a new set of those. I have some somewhere, but finding them will be labor intensive. All right, be right back. We'll put the gas stuff on. And then the small caps go over the other vacuums that you're not using. And then we've got one more vacuum that comes off the manifold, and that drives everything else in the car, including the headlights, which, by the way, need to be rebuilt as well. So we're good there. I'm going to go ahead and replace the filter. Loosen this up a little bit more. right. Loosen this one up a bit. Now, in the older cars, there actually was a filter stuck in there. A stone type filter. Don't have to worry about that here. Make sure that's good and snug. So we're going to hook up the automatic choke. Now this is the old one. We've got ground. It has to be grounded, and then power comes to this one. So you got ground, power, and that's all we really need. It's going to be easy. I'm going to go ahead and connect it up, and then I'll take a quick video afterwards. I'm going to do something different. Now, I think I showed you earlier that I actually have the cable marked that has the power to it that'll go to the automatic choke. But it comes with a new one. Now that one, the old one, is broken. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to splice this in to the wire that I have marked that has the power to it. But I'm going to use these cool things. And yeah, I saw them on the internet. Basically, you put a little heat on these, and they shrink. And this is solder in the middle, the little metal piece in there. They kind of shrink up and form a very tight bond. So I'm going to give that a try. Now, I don't have the proper heating gun. I went and looked at heating guns, and since this is an average guy's car restoration, I just felt like spending $100 some odd for a heat gun. So I'm going to use a little small propane torch. I'll fill that up here in a minute, and then we'll see if it works or not. Could set the whole car on fire. We'll see. All right, so I'm gonna set you back up here and let you take a look. So this is the one I had marked. I put the bread tie on it, or a bread tie. The key is to make sure you get the right size. And so I'm going to test these out real quick. First, I need some wire cutters. So I'm going to clip this end off, because you can see that's one's pretty crappy. It's broken pretty good. I'll leave that on there just in case I lose it. There we go. Do the same with the new one. It's a lot of cable, but I think I'll just leave it in case I end up having to make a mistake here and need. If I don't have too much, then not enough. So now, depending on what video you see when they're using these things, it's pretty much. Oh, by the way, I got to get the right one to go in there first. Let me check those out. So I've got the smaller one, and it seems that might do. Seems it might do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this over here. Maybe. Okay. Let's twist that up a little bit more. Now, you don't want them too big. Well, I guess that depends on how you're going to connect them. I want to slide this all the way down. And I'm going to do what I used to know was the right way to do this. And see if this will slide back. It might not slide back over because it might be just too darn big. Yeah, it is. So I'm going to need a bigger one if I'm going to do it that way. I don't trust that I just touch the ends and they automatically solder together. That's kind of a tight one, but let me get this larger one I have. So they come in different sizes. That's a huge difference. I think it'll work for what I want to do here. Whoops, guess what? I forgot to put it on. It doesn't work if you don't put it on. Yeah, that'll be the right size for that. For the way I want to do it, and that gives me a good solid connection. And that slides back over it. Now I'm going to go get the torch ready. All right, got y'all set, and you should be able to see that. This is a little propane torch, and it should shrink those. Now I got to do it without too much heat, so we'll see how much shrinkage it gets, and you'll get to watch it live here instead of some guy doing it on the internet. See, the solder's melting pretty good. I want to cook got the solder going, and the ends are done. All right. Whoops. Set the head in the wrong spot, you think? Slid down, didn't slide it back up. Well, now you know how it works. It's a good thing I have extra. That was just a test run. Well, that was genius. Yeah, that happens. Which is another reason why you leave lots of wire, just in case you do something stupid like that. And I may edit that out so no one will ever really know. But at least you saw it work, and it worked pretty good. Now we're going to do it again. This time we'll do it for real. The other wires out of the way here so I don't move those. All right, now we'll try it for real. Good, tight, perfect. All right, we'll let it cool for a second, and then we're going to hook this carb up and see if we can get far up. Doc. I think you're going to be just fine. Alright, so I went ahead and cut this open, and this feels just like sand because it's the gas tank's on the top. It probably gets sand drifted in there from time to time, or has. It doesn't look like metal, but it's been there a long time. Let me get a magnet just to be sure. So now I don't see how metal would get in the... Unless it was rust of some kind. So it's not metal. It's just gunk. I'm going to tear this rust away apart and take a better look at it. So it is just dirt and sand. You can see here, and rubbing it out, it's all just dirt and sand. And again, that should have been changed a long time ago. I should have changed it when I first got it. But it was on the underside, of course, because that's how it lays. And I didn't really check it because it was running good, but here we go.